Hello, everyone. This is Ed Brenegar, and this is the Eddy Network podcast, Global Conversations for Local Leadership. And today I have my friend Bob Strobel from Wyoming with us. And Bob is an entrepreneur and a guy that I got to know while I lived in Jackson. He's a fine young man, and he has decided to run for office in Wyoming to be a representative of his district. And I congratulate you on taking personal initiative to create impact that makes a difference that matters. That's my definition of what a leader is. So, Bob, you're a leader, and I hope that is something that you get fulfilled by. So, tell us a little bit about who you are and what you do and where you live, and just kind of some of the basics of who you are.
Okay. Yeah, so I'm Bob Strobel. I'm running for House District 22 in Western Wyoming, and that encapsulates Wilson, South Jackson, taking in Hog Island and Game Creek, Hoback. And then in Star Valley, you've got Alpine, Nordic ranches, a little bit of Etna, and Star Valley Ranch. So it's about 6,200 registered voters within the district. And it's a very diverse district. You have a very progressive southern Teton County chunk, and then a very conservative Lincoln County. So that's the district. And then as far as my real life, I have two businesses in Jackson. One is the Jackson Hole Computer Clinic, and we help people with their technology, phones, laptops, and as well as more advanced Wi-Fi networks in the home and that kind of stuff. We help people with their tech. Good. And then we have See Jackson Hole, which is Jackson Hole's world famous live webcam feeds viewed by millions of users each year. And I've had a lot of fun with that project over the last 8 years. And so you can basically, what that is people log on and look to see what's going on in the town square, weather, landscape shots, wildlife, that kind of stuff. So
I go there all the time, and
yeah,
people say, "Well, what was it like to live in Jackson?" I say, "Well, I go to Bob's live feed."
Yeah, and they're on YouTube and Facebook, and as well as cjh.com, and so that's my real life. That's what I do for reals. And then I've been in Western Wyoming for 27 years. And then my family actually got here in 1949. So I have quite the family history here. My grandparents were ranchers as well as outfitters out of Bondurant. And then I have family that live in Jackson as well as Star Valley. So that's my connection to the Valley. I was only supposed to be here for a couple weeks visiting my grandmother. And then that turned into a month, and then that turned into a summer job. And then after that, in the fall of 95, pretty much right about now, I was co-founding a business called Jackson Hole Net, which was one of Jackson Hole's first websites. And I was with that organization for 18 years as vice president. And then I spun off from that to start See Jackson Hole in 2014. And that's what I've been up to over the last few years. And then I'm married, and I've got an amazing wife, Clara Hoback, and then two kids, Chandler and Lillian, and they're affectionately known as Chanman and Lilypad.
Oh, I like that. That's great.
Yeah, they're doing great in school. We're working on some things with Chandler. We're working on his handwriting and him paying attention to the teacher. So I'm not worried about too much else. He's a bright kid. I'm definitely not worried about Lily. She's like a little whippersnapper, and we'll be worried about other things as she gets older. But for right now, everything's solid on the family front. I currently live in Etna, Wyoming, which is the south portion of our district. And I'm,
Yeah, I know
you know,
people.
I don't,
I know people.
what's that?
I know people down there. Yeah.
Yeah, it's a
Carve
great
out
place
ranch.
to live. It's a great place to live. It you still get the amazing Western Wyoming lifestyle without the hustle and bustle of Jackson. And if you want Jackson, you go to Jackson.
Yeah.
And then I guess the other thing though is we are missing out on some of the great restaurants that Jackson has.
Yeah. Well, that's okay. So tell me something. Here you are, a businessman, a family man. You've been in Wyoming quite a long time. You know, longer than most people that are there now. And you have decided to run for public office to be a representative in the Wyoming House. So, what was the pathway to that that decision that led you to make that, to go in that direction? And
Yeah.
why are you doing this?
Yeah. So there's quite a few different reasons, but I would say there's a couple that I'll focus on. And the genesis behind it a little bit. But one of the big reasons is I wanted to bring people together. It's such a diverse district. We need to bring people together and have those tougher conversations, figure out what we agree on, and go to bat in Cheyenne. And so there's, like I said, you have a very diverse, or you have a very progressive southern Lincoln County and a very conservative northern Lincoln County. Or did I say that right? You have a very
Southern Jackson County,
Teton County, and then a very conservative. So we get caught up in a lot of political footballs that don't matter a whole lot to Wyoming, and we need to focus on the issues that do matter to Wyoming. So we need to bring people together, and because I think we have a lot more common in common than we think we do.
Can you give me an example of what you see as things that we have in common there?
Well, something that's bubbled up here recently is property taxes and property tax reform.
Mm-hmm.
And I hate to use that one, but it's affecting all of us. For instance, my aunt up in Jackson, her property taxes went from $3,000 to $7,000 to $14,000 a year.
Goodness.
And she's 85, and she works 2 hours a day, 5 days a week, just so she can pay her property taxes. That's brutal. And down here in Star Valley, we're starting to see some of that. Like, for instance, our property taxes here doubled. It went from 2,500 to 5,000. And that's the same thing that's going on down south. So this is an issue that's been progressively getting worse for the last few years. We all need to figure out how we can come together on this and work together on providing relief for those that need it, while still funding education, because a lot of people don't know that our property taxes, 75% of our property taxes goes towards funding education.
So you are dealing with this one issue. This is one of the 10.
Yeah, that's one. And another one is water issues.
Yeah,
we have a lot of water issues.
So
we're having water issues.
This means that you're actually having to communicate with two different counties and the county administrations of two different counties if you get elected, that you'll be working with two different counties, and also the local municipalities that are in those counties to kind of address some of these things and work to build some kind of unified perspective on how to move forward, I guess.
Yeah. And in Jackson, it might be a little bit different, or I guess Teton County, things might be a little bit different. But the law that is passed down is a Wyoming state statute, and so that's the legislature coming together, and then the governor signing that into law.
Mm-hmm.
So it's there will be somewhat of a one size fits all law that's passed down from the legislature, but it needs to work for everybody, and there's lots of different solutions that have come to light. But the historically, it was, oh, we'll just let Teton County be Teton County as it relates to this statute, because the rest of the state doesn't have to worry about this. And that's not the case anymore. It's not just Lincoln County and Teton County and Sublette County and Fremont County, or all the counties in western Wyoming. This is happening all over Wyoming in other cool places. I mean, believe it or not, there really is other cool places around Wyoming that people want to live. So as a result of that, and as a result of what happened with COVID and bringing people in that want that western Wyoming type lifestyle that exists, it bumped property taxes, and it's done that all over the state. So the state somehow, like, it's surprising to me that we find ourselves in this situation, because no one had the foresight to see what was coming.
So it sounds like what I'm hearing you say is you got two different things going for you. You have this experience of being an entrepreneur, which is constantly looking for ways to solve problems. That's what entrepreneurs do. They're looking for the opportunity in the midst of a crisis or a situation. But you're also trying to bring people together, and it sounds like you're to be elected into this position. You're not just doing that in southern Teton County and northern Lincoln County, but you're going to be doing that also at the level of the House at
state. Yeah.
And that this is not is this what politics is today?
Well,
or it should be.
So there's constituents that elect you, and that, so I'm the only one that's going to be on the ballot in this particular district as an independent, and then my opponent will be on the ballot as well. Mm-hmm. And so this is their voice. This is that voice of the 6,200 registered voters in this district. But you have to go to bat for those folks. Like, you have to dive in and talk with both sides. Both, as an independent, you have to talk to both sides, because that's what I'm running as an independent. And you talk to both sides, and that's the luxury of running as an independent. Is I get to be people over party, and so I can talk with anybody about policy, potential policy. And one thing that I've discovered in this process is, most people, no matter what party they're in, want good policy. And what constitutes good policy? Well, it's policy that serves the majority of the citizens across the state, not one party, because people get hung up on that sometimes. And people are tired of politics. What they want is action and productivity, and it's hard. It's going to be hard going to Cheyenne and trying to inject that because of partisan politics. And so you have to build a coalition of influence and 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 not get caught up in all those political footballs that don't mean too much to Wyoming at the moment.
So let me ask you this. I mean, we talked a little bit before we went on the air, and I was asking you about what you see as the overall impact or the results of being a representative for these two counties there in Cheyenne. What do you hope to see? It's a 4-year term, right?
No, it's a two-year
Term. So in 2 years, what is it you hope to see as the product of your time in office? Because this is, I mean, sort of this is what you're telling people. This is why I'd like you to vote for me, because this is what I hope to see as the result.
Yeah. Also, just real quick, just to get this included, you also wanted to know maybe the genesis behind why I'm running, and then I'll lead.
Yeah. Well, let's go there, and then go to what you'd like to see.
This will help explain it just a little bit.
Yeah.
So about 4 years ago, I got a knock on the door at my old place here in Etna, and it was Jim Roscoe, independent candidate for Wyoming House District 22. And I invited him in and asked him how I could help. And we talked about a few things. And what I found out is wow, this guy really cares about Wyoming and the people. And you know, even if he gets to the Cheyenne with and doesn't get a whole lot done, what he has done is brought an independent to Cheyenne in a day where that would be pretty uncommon. And so that was one of the coolest things was, he did make it to Cheyenne. He was elected, and he got there, and he actually got a lot of work done for Wyoming, and learned about many of the issues for Wyoming, and was able to build consensus across party lines.
Wow.
So now let's fast forward to me. I hope to carry that torch over the next 2 years.
I like that.
In building. So that's when the journey began for me. And then now I want to continue to carry that torch of talking with both sides, talking with people, building consensus, and then, you know, going to the, you know, roll call happens and you start voting. And so I just hope to be able to represent the majority of the district in similar fashion to the way that Jim did it. And then the next thing is I really hope we can start having conversations about energy and energy innovation for Wyoming. And that's one of the big issues that's coming down the line, aside from property taxes. Let's just set property taxes aside, because there is relief coming. It won't happen soon enough, but it's going to happen. But what I really want to focus on is the future of Wyoming's energy and innovating Wyoming's energy. So what does that mean? Well, it means everything. It's all of the above energy policy, and slowly weaning us off of carbon producing energy to renewables or non-carbon producing, which would mean, you know, nuclear in this case, or maybe hydrothermal, or solar and wind, and even I'd even be happy with hydroelectric energy in some cases. Wyoming needs to stop talking and start doing. And so I just hope I hope to be able to start to set the stage for that. And so we'll see. That's one thing that I hope to do. There's other things I'd like to do, but we can get into that another time. But I will tell you, one of the things that I will be doing, no matter what happens here, is I will be learning. Right? Talk less, say more, so to speak.
Yeah.
And listening, because I don't have all the answers. I know that. I'm not a professional politician. And so I know I'll be cutting my teeth. I know I'll be a freshman. And so it might be a while before I really hit the ground running.
So what does it mean, therefore, to you, for the public to trust you?
Yeah, well, so if we look back over the last, I guess maybe 25 years or so, I've been in business in Jackson Hole. So look at my history. So you can fall back on my history, and there's a few, like, obviously I'm a big fan of Code of the West. The Code of the West has always been one of my favorites. We won't go into that today, but really there's core values. Like, look at the core values of what I've done in business. And so a few of my favorites in terms of core values was show up on time, do what you say you're going to do, bring value, and be honest in your business dealings. And so I learned that early on in business as a young guy, and coming up the last few years, and I've held to those. And that's really like Jackson is such an amazing place to be an entrepreneur if you hold to those core values.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I agree with you.
There's, if you roll into town and you start slinging snake oil, yeah, you'll get a few suckers here or there, but eventually what happens is the clock runs out. And what's great is your reputation and how you've conducted yourself in public, whether in business or whatever. That's a renewable resource.
Yeah.
So I would say look at my history as a businessman. And also, if you're a friend of mine, look at our past history as a friend. And I know I'm not perfect. I make mistakes all the time. And it's the other thing to look at is how you own up to your mistakes and what you do, and what you do going forward. Right? Like, and don't let your past mistakes define you. And so I think that's what people need to look at in candidates, not just me, but in candidates in general.
Well, I really like what you're saying. I like it a lot. I think it positions you not as the expert, but as a coalition, collaborative partner for finding solutions to problems that seem to be intractable. And I think that it's a difficult place to go into, because everything is on the line, and your status as a person that can be trusted is on the line in those situations. And but I think if you're a strong person, you got a strong sense of character, strong sense of values, strong sense of purpose, and you are willing to say no when it's necessary. I think that's that sort of way of being in a political, governmental, representative role is it can have a very great impact upon not only your constituents but the whole state of Wyoming. And and I figured this would be how you would come at this. I've known you, I don't know, 5, 6 years, 7 years, something like that. Known you a long time. And I figured that this is how you would come at this. And to hear you say it is really fantastic. So what do you want to say to the people who are your potential voters?
Yeah. Well, kind of back to being vulnerable here just a little bit. Uh, like I said, I know I'm not perfect, and I know I have a lot to learn. And in this process, I've learned a lot, and I've had to learn more about myself. And I had to come to some terms with tough issues. For example, like reproductive rights, right? That's a huge political football right now. And you have to dig deep on some of these issues and figure out what hill you're willing to die on.
Yeah.
Another one is just real quick to give you another issue is protecting our public lands and keeping our public lands in public hands. And some folks want our public lands to be turned over to the state. And that's not me. When the state takes over public lands and the state can no longer afford to take care of those public lands, they dispose of those. And that's happened. So that's not me. That's a hill I'm willing to die on. I know the feds are frustrating and stuff like that, but I'd rather see them locked up in limbo and then we're able to go out and enjoy those versus them being locked up by the state or being sold off to the highest bidder.
Yeah.
So you've had to really come to terms with, some issues you're willing to compromise on and come together on, and other issues you're just like, oh no, that's not me. You'll have to vote for somebody else. So I've really had to learn that, and I've been working with a coach to help me dive deep, and that's been a great thing for me.
That's great.
The last thing is we're all in this together, and we need to work together. And I want to hear from you. I want phone calls, emails, texts, smoke signals, however you want to get a hold of me, Facebook Messenger, because we need to have those tougher conversations. And also, this race is less about me and more about you. Like once you understand who I am, I want you to know that on many things, it's about how I represent you, because that's what the job is. If that makes sense. Like if you're a representative, that's what you're doing. So figuring out what the majority of folks in the district, and even Wyoming for that matter, is what's most important to me about this race at this time. And I humbly ask for your vote November 8th, would be the last thing I would say. And I don't know if you want to ask me anything else, but that's where I'm at.
I think that's a good place to stop. And once you're elected, I'm assuming you'll be elected, and you start serving, after you have been installed as the representative, or I'm not sure what the terminology there is, but I'd like to have you come back on and we could talk about what you're learning and what you're learning. I'm not really as interested in the policy issues in debates and that. I'm really interested in you as the representative, the person that you are, and how you see yourself in that role, because that's what people want to know. They want to see you as a human being. They want to know you in that way. And you're going to go through a lot. And it's there's a lot of things you're going to learn and about yourself and about the world and about Wyoming. It's all good. It's all good. I look forward to having more conversation with you after you start serving, so that we can really, understand this, because this podcast is not just going to be for people in Wyoming. It's going to go all over the world. So you're talking to people about what representative democracy is, let's call it that, is really about. It's about a man, a father, a business person who decides he's going to run for public office. He's putting himself out there, and he's seeking to serve his neighbors, the people that he lives around. And I think that's a great thing. So Bob, thank you, and I wish you well.
Yeah, thank you. I'm flattered that you would reach out to me and have me be on your awesome podcast. And also just it's so great to hear from you again. And what a nice surprise.
Yeah, well, it's been fun for me. So we will talk to you later. And
okay,
friends, thank you for watching and listening. And there's more of this kind of stuff to come. And so thank you, and we'll see you soon. Take care. Bye.